Hello, my name's Jade and today we will be discussing The Retribution of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. I always stumble over that last name. This is the third and final book in the Mara Dyer trilogy. The first book being The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, the second book being The Evolution of Mara Dyer, and then we have this one, third and final book. You get it! I had so much fun reading this trilogy and I'm so sad that it's over. Although we do have a companion trilogy. I actually own the first two books, The Becoming of Noah Shaw and The Reckoning of Noah Shaw, so I think these ones are from Noah's perspective. The last book doesn't come out for a really long time, until 2021. Originally, I planned that when I finish this one, I was going to go straight into the Noah Shaw confessions, at least those two books that I can. I'm not sure if I am anymore, so that this whole kind of Mara and Noah adventure isn't over too soon. Being that this is the third book in a trilogy, there's not a lot I can really tell you about it. I do have videos for both of these, so I'm going to link both of them down below. This one is really long. It's actually two videos because I did an extended version as well because I couldn't cut it all out. So I'll link both of those down below as well as this one. I heard of the trilogy and you want to find out more, maybe check that one out. Finished it just last night, like in the middle of the night, and then I kind of didn't even think about it and I went to sleep, and I have my notes and I have a lot of notes again. I didn't sit down and go through them before though. We're just going straight into this. You're just getting raw emotion here. It's still kind of fresh. I think it still needs to process a little bit. I did the thing, I can't remember, I cut this out of the normal video, I think I talked about it in the extended version of The Evolution of Mara Dyer, about how I flicked through. I did it as I was like halfway through The Evolution of Mara Dyer. I did flick through a little bit in this one, like before I even started the book. I know, I'm out of control. And so I was spoiled for some things. It's my own fault. I didn't think it would impact the way that I viewed the book because it's a thing I've done in the past, maybe not to this extent, but I think that might have had a big reason why it's not as amazing in my mind. I didn't know everything, but I had some ideas of like some major plot elements. And also have short confessions after this one, so some things are a given, especially because the last one is called The Last Confessions of Noah Shaw and Mara Dyer or something like that. I think I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. This one felt a lot slower than the other two. It was a lot harder to read. I read it much slower, but I was also really busy editing 500-hour long video. But also the other two, I struggled putting them down. I was less motivated to read this one because it was so slow. I think the last book in series, this isn't a rare phenomenon, especially in trilogies. In the Afterlife, Allegiance stick out in my mind, particularly those two are quite slow and not necessarily dense, but they have a dense feeling to them. Went on and on about this in The Evolution of Mara Dyer, about how I want more downtime, and I felt like that in this one too. And I know it makes it longer, and I know it's not even necessary. I think the book could benefit from it. I think The Evolution of Mara Dyer is still my favourite. I give this one like a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed reading it. I think it had the balance between the kind of the funness of the first book. The first book definitely was the most light-hearted in tone because not being so stressed about the situation because we're not entirely sure what's going on yet. But also like the seriousness and kind of figuring things out stuff that we have in the last book. It's just a nice balance, whereas these two kind of both lean one way towards the other. I think I give both of these like an 8 out of 10. I might prefer The Unbecoming a little more than The Retribution because it was a little more lighthearted, but once I found the time to sit down to read like the last 200 pages, I really enjoyed myself. And I think that's the best way to read these books, just kind of sit down and read them as quickly as you can. I think had I been able to read under different circumstances, especially without potentially spoiling myself, the rating could even maybe be a 9. Look at how pretty they all are together. I think this is my favorite cover because I like the people on it the best, and I like the contrast between the light and dark. I love a good contrast. I think this one's really cool as well. It's really macabre. It looks pretty on camera because of the reflection. It's a little bit dark IRL, and I like the picture, but I don't think I like it as much as I like this one. I don't really like the picture on this one very much. It's grainy and weird. It's okay. I love how like shiny little Simon Schusters have different colors. I love the little details they put into these. I would recommend this trilogy. I think it's fun. Maybe it doesn't have as much depth as some other things. These deeper themes to them that you can like apply to the real world, and I love things that have like a deeper meaning to them. I don't know if these did as much. They did, but I don't know about being different and unique and being proud of who you are, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm not like 10 out of 10s. These are the best things ever. But it's a really solid trilogy. When I find a trilogy that's consistent like this, it makes me happy. I rambled on too much. much, I think we're good. I think this is going to be the spoiler section now. If you've not read The Retribution of Mara Dyer, I'm going to be talking about like the things that happen in the book, the spoilers. So if you want to read it, I would leave now. Go away, read it, come back, and we can discuss. Okay, bye if you've yet to read The Retribution of Mara Dyer. Okay. So, should I start by telling you the things that I knew, the things that I spoiled myself about? I knew that David Shaw, I saw his name and I saw their little conversation. So I knew he knew about Noah and Mara, and I knew that in the subway when things started going wrong, I knew that it was gonna be David. If you didn't look through like I did, that would be like a big plot twist, shock factor thing. I mean, they kept saying follow the money, and me knowing that it was gonna be David, I was like, well, yeah. David Shaw, Noah's dad. What does he do? I want to say it was something to do with genetics, but I could be way off here. Something biological. So I don't know if I would have put that one together had I not spoiled myself. I don't know if I would have been shocked. I also knew that Noah was alive and when about to play a role. And I think also at one point I flicked through and I realised that the reason why David was doing what he was doing, that he wanted them separated. I didn't know quite everything, but I think I saw You'll Love Him to Ruins or something came up again. I think those were the big things that I knew. I also knew, because I knew when Noah's come back, that it was going to be split POV. This makes me, Allegiant has scared me. I'm going to put a picture up of Allegiant right about here. If you haven't read Allegiant, I recommend The Divergent Tree. It's really good. Allegiant isn't the strongest book in that trilogy. I'm going to talk about some spoilers. Mute the screen, and when the picture leaves, you can unmute the screen and come back. As soon as I found out, I opened the book and found out there was split POV for Allegiant, I instantly knew that Tris was going to die. I instantly predicted it. And I had this whole theory, like, why else would you make it split perspective for the last book? Being the kind of books that these are, they're fighting a lot and Tris is brave and selfless. So what are the chances that Tris is gonna die? They're high. So when I saw in here, what's gonna happen? Now I knew that neither of them died because again, I skipped to the end, to make sure they were both there, and they were. So I knew that neither of them was going to die, but why would she all of a sudden make it split POV? People haven't read Allegiant, it is safe to come back now. And I don't particularly like it when they just randomly, especially because this one's like halfway through the book, I don't like the non-consistency there. It would have been cool maybe to have like a section or two from Noah's perspective, but we didn't know it was from his perspective, but I guess it would have just like completely thrown us off because it's not third person, it's first person. Like I said, I skipped to the very end to make sure that neither of them died. Also, we have the Shaw Confessions, and the last book in the Shaw Confessions is called Last Confessions of Mara Dyer and Noah Shaw, so they're both in that book. So even if I hadn't, I think I could have put it together that they weren't gonna die, but maybe I would have felt more emotion during that scene. That being said, because the last book has both of their names in the title, I wonder if that one's gonna be split perspective as well. And because we did it in here, I wouldn't mind it so much if it happened in that. And also, I think I'd like to read from Mara's perspective again. Not that I didn't enjoy Noah's perspective. They're very different, and I love this because another problem I had with Allegiant, the split perspective wasn't done particularly well. They kind of meshed together. I would legitimately forget who I was reading from. Here, they're very different. They have very different writing styles. All of Noah's Englishisms come out, their sense of humour is slightly different and the way they think is different, so it's really interesting kind of flicking back between the two of them. But I think from the last book I would want to read from Mara's perspective again because I love reading from her perspective. She's so snarky and fun. But if the last book is from both of their point of view, what will happen? These constant foreshadowings that she'll live in ruins, and obviously that gets broken down in this one, but it's not gone. That threat is still there. Highly plausible either Mara or Noah will die in the last book. It would be from split POV, so you can now have it that one of them dies because the book will end with the other ones finishing the story. Mara might accidentally kill Noah, he will die involving with her power, or gonna kill Mara to save Noah, or just, pretty corrupt stuff's going on here. Either of them could die anyway, so I'm scared. So we have Mirror Mara. She could have been a side effect from the drugs, or a side effect from the PTSD, a side effect from her powers. I was thinking that it could have been any of them. You can't talk to your subconscious, that's stupid. It's more like, I'm part of you that's aware even when you don't know you're aware. It's been given us a lot of drugs, and it's dulled your awareness in some ways and heightened it in others. The drugs. And I only just realised now, looking back at my notes, because I completely forgot, because partway through the book, she looks for her reflection and her reflection doesn't respond. She disappears and Mara's like, strange. And that's it, we just don't see from her again. Was it when they took the things out? Is that the last time we saw from Mirror Mara? It was like a weird side effect, but why? What were those things that they put inside of her? How did they figure out the science to because it didn't stop her reactions, right? That's what they were testing in the beginning. They were trying to stop her reactions. And those little capsules, all they stopped was her powers, because she still had the desires to kill people, she just couldn't do it. Lukumi says that their powers couldn't be explained away exactly by science, then if they found these weird capsule things to stop powers, then it seems pretty explainable by science because there's a way you can stop it. Food for thought. I think I would have wanted Mara to like be like, where'd she go? Instead of like, oh, she didn't respond to me. Like, I think I would want that more reinforced. It really scared me as well that Dr. Kells was making her forget her family and Noah. Why was she doing that? Her intention was to release her back into society. So why was she making her forget Noah and her family? Like she said about how her memory of them was all distorted. Or was it just that she'd spent so long without them that she was kind of forgetting them naturally and she just wasn't aware because she kept being drugged to forget these things? Very scary. Very stressed. Oh yeah, there's also the reference that Mara doesn't remember who Megan was. That aids to the theory that Kells was making her forget things. Really didn't like remember it till like Adam and Megan. Maybe Kells was making her forget like Horizon and what happened there. That it was weird and that never came up again. So I don't really understand what was happening there. Claire! She walks out the mirror, doesn't she? There was something weird with the memory of Claire. She popped up in the Unbecoming of Mara Dyer and I would put it down to her PTSD. But then the fact that she was weird in this one as well made me think, is it something to do with her powers? Like, is there more going on here? And that never was explained. Mirror Mara said, yeah, Claire's weird. She's different from the other ones. She can do that. And then it never came up again. Did Michelle Hodkin forget, or is that going to come up in the Becoming of Not Sure? Kells kind of irons out that it's a fear response to her powers, a stress response, and they talk about this again, Stella and Jamie, when they're talking about the powers, all three of them in the restaurant. Their powers react to stress. She's trying to fix Mara. I almost felt bad for her with what went down, but then also what we find out later. Well, morally questionable. I don't know. She's very morally ambiguous. She was really interesting. I really like her as kind of like an antagonist. Oh, this scene with the spinal. I hated that scene. Again, I had to put the book down. Really, my back just like hurt for like the next hour. Like, it's such like a weird position. I hated it. And this one was kind of gory and a little bit graphic at times, but I think it was all really well done because it made me so uncomfortable. Like, it was so well written. It didn't feel out of place. Like, it felt natural for it to be there. Have it ironed out that Mara's grandmother does in fact have the exact same powers as Mara. That would suggest that it's somewhat hereditary. Like, they even talk about how it's as if it seems like she'll take them away from her grandmother because her grandmother will then lose said powers. So that's interesting. Dude, another morally ambiguous character who I felt straight up bad for him come the end of this book. Like, I was questioning why Jude let her out and he sounded kind of ill. The way he was talking about things, it very much implied that he wasn't in his right mind. And that's when my theory really started playing up. He definitely wasn't in his right mind and that something's going on here. Either that like she tricked him or she drugged him. She finds Jamie, which he was making loads of noise. Bless him. And it becomes very apparent that Mara's the only one suffering as much. And this is a thing that's like brought up again and again and again. It had to mean more. She kept coming back to it. I wonder how long those things were inside of her. For her to not look healthy, like right out the gate, right when they broke out, that she's noticeably different. Loved Jamie's like wisdom on how they needed to stay together and how loyal he was to her. I particularly loved it when she was going down the ladder that they found in Kel's office and he was like, yeah, no, I'll be right behind you. And they had pretty level heads on their shoulders. Like, a lot of things they were thinking through really well. And I was proud of them because of all the problems we had, that didn't need to be one of them. We find out that Kel's had the cameras in Mara's house to observe her. Fine. Still don't understand how she did that, but I guess she had a much bigger role in things. We find out they followed them to Florida, and Dr. Kells too thought that Mara could make thought become reality, which ended up not quite being true, but it's more true than simply her seeing people dead and then that happening. It had to be more than her just seeing people dead. But I was also kind of right about how it always seems to be destruction. It's never anything good. I was really proud of the amount of things that I guessed correctly in that last video, and like just reading them and hearing that I was right, the triumph. There was like a map full of pins in her secret office as well, which would indicate that this is happening like all over the world. Like, is she keeping track of people all over the world? I wonder if this is something that's going to come up in the Noah Shaw confessions, because I'm assuming we're going to find more people like them. Everything about the whole situation was dodgy. I've written in my notes, just think, Mara. So I guess I was getting frustrated by her. All she wanted was Noah and she couldn't get past that. And just, Mara, stop for a second and think, okay? We have the chapter where the horse is scared of Mara's nan. It runs and like gets impaled. It was a really hard chapter to read. It was really hard because Mara's grandmother was such an animal person, and I think Mara is too. They fed that bird in New York. She saw the bird eating a sandwich, and so they bought a sandwich for the bird. They can sense like the evilness in Mara and her grandmother. Like, it's a strange situation. And Stella here, Jamie's and Mara's thoughts. Like, was that ever fully fleshed out? I don't think it was. I feel like there was something that alluded that she could, but then come this one, she never like read their mind. But she could read Jude's mind. Is it because he's synthetic? He doesn't actually have the gene, he just has the side effects? I got really confused when I was talking about this last time. What the book is saying is that people with powers can't affect other people with powers. But Noah can. Why? Why can he and no one else? I hate this. Was it here that Stella talks about like the more you implement your power, the worse it gets, like the side effects, and your power becomes stronger, which I didn't like. Like, Jamie's just gonna forever be puking. I guess it's quite realistic. I'm kind of like, oh, but I want them to have their cake and eat it too. But I guess it's quite realistic that there's side effects to these powers, that it damages their body. Jamie can in fact tell people what to do. We were correct. Oh, those guys, it seemed, could only use their powers when they were stressed. But then Jamie kept telling people what to do, and at first, like, he kept getting himself all, like, worked up about it. Come the end, he's doing it a lot. So I wonder if maybe he can control. I think he can. Does he work himself up every single time and we just don't talk about it as much? You'd think after a while, when you realise that you can do it, you'd stop getting nervous each time because you know you can do it. And so therefore it wouldn't work if you have to be stressed or anxious or whatever. I don't know quite how much I buy that. Can you learn to control it? Because it seems plausible to me that you can learn to control it. That at first it's kind of like only when you're mad and anxious, but over time you'll learn to control it. I kind of want them to play around with this. We have the show confessions, and I'm hoping Jamie's going to be in them. It seems like he is. So I'm thinking this is something we're going to play around with then. Noah, it would seem, can control it though. He does not seem to be in a heightened or stressed state when he like heals people. Maybe he is because he's upset with the person he's healing. When he has these visions of people, is he stressed or anxious then? Again, I don't think he is, because when he had one when he went out for lunch with Mara in the first book. Was he stressed then? No, it was so different. Is it because he's a hero? Is it because he's great? Just free powers for you. It doesn't feel consistent. Ugh. They thought it was triggered by puberty. I didn't think so. They were all around 16 when it starts happening. But women tend to go through puberty when they're like 12, 13, 14. Like, men and women go through puberty at different times. Women is slightly younger, than men it's like slightly after, like 15, 16, 17, 18. So no, I disagree. Biological standpoint, that's not quite how puberty works, I don't think. And I don't think Marexie, when everyone turned 16, puberty, like, I didn't like that explanation. And Jamie was asking all these questions like, who's doing this, why is this happening? Stella just wanted a cure, Mara just wanted to know, and then like Jamie had all these questions, and I was like, yes Jamie, you're asking the right questions, it's good for you. And then they got in the car, the truck, whatever it was, with that random guy. Like, I know they didn't have a lot of options. Was this before Jamie started actually telling people what to do and he was like too nervous to do it maybe? But like, why? How many times? Don't talk to strangers, don't go in strange people's cars. Like, it's like so ingrained into us. He corners Stella in the bathroom and Mara saves her. Mara and her scalpel were just like killing people. Was it believable that she killed him so easily, that she was so easily able to overthrow this guy who presumably had done it before with just her scalpel? I don't know. Mirror thing comes back to play, and she like, doesn't she encourage Mara to do it? Like, it's weird that mirror person kept like encouraging Mara to do these things. She comes out covered in blood, and I'm like, the evidence, there's so much evidence. They're gonna find the body and you're taking the car, like everything about this is bad, you're gonna get caught. I don't think they did. Or maybe they did and Shaw covered it up for them, because didn't he reference it? In all fairness, they recognised that it was a bad idea. I guess they didn't have a lot of options. They were just so down on their luck, constantly like walking down these highways, and it was always raining, and they'd be trudging along for hours on end. Ugh, they're going through it. Oh, and what was with the creepy pictures that Mara drew? With like, was it with people's eyes screwing out, or like their insides coming out? I'm assuming that's a side effect of her powers. I don't know what else it would be. And she has this weird feeling when they check into like a little in thing. It's just very strange the way that those things in her were affecting her. It wasn't just her physical illness, it was more than that. She kept getting these weird sensations, and she was having these weird dreams of Noah and the doll. Is it because of the genetic memory thing, or is it because of her powers? I guess it's a combination of the two, because it really is like, the gene is a combination of the two. In New York, with the doll and Noah. They were in New York in the end. I don't like that. Was that foreshadowing? What is that foreshadowing of? Did it happen? Is it just the fact that they're going to be in New York, or was that foreshadowing for something greater to come? Because it looks like they're going back to New York. I wanted to take her clothes off when she has the weird dream thing, and I thought it was because she was covered in blood, but she wanted to do that after she drank the thing in the first book. She drank the blood that Lukumi gave her, and she just wanted to take all her clothes off. There seems to be something going on there. I don't know if this will come up again. She like envisioned Noah when she was in the bathtub bleeding out or something, and when she went to kill Kel, she saw him. That was weird. I wonder if that was some kind of weird therapy thing they were doing to her, kind of trying to make her not want to kill things as much. And then we jump back to Mara's grandmother, and we find out that her name is Mara. All the references to her name being Mara in the first book, I thought was foreshadowing that Mara would be called Mara. I don't know if we ever get told that. Does her mom ever say like anything about how she named Mara after her grandmother? I felt really bad for her, and they went to like tell her family what was going on, and that's the only time we really saw her family, other than Daniel, of course. I liked seeing her with her family, and again it looks like they're gonna just go straight off to college. It looks like we're not going to see her family much, which kind of upsets me because I liked how big of a role they were in the first two books. So weird seeing them in such a calm state, like after so much. Like I can only imagine just like wanting to run up and give her like a big hug. Like I wanted that. It did have like an anticlimax feeling to it, but it worked because it was an anticlimax and it felt like it to her as well. It was done really well, I think. It was hard. I teared up a little bit at this section. She felt anticlimactic. It was an anticlimax. It was done really well, I think. I teared up a little bit at this section. Oh, and the parents say that about how they don't know where Daniel is. I knew he was going to be a bigger player in this. Thought, well, if they're going to New York anyway to find the records or something, what's the chances that they're both in New York and not related? Something was up. He was doing some shady stuff, and chances were it was connected to them. I wondered if he knew where Noah was, if they were like in on something, laying low while they figured out what was going on. Unfortunately, not them. We have this like Leonard Protocol, which is the weird book that everyone seems to find really boring, and that it wasn't in Daniel's room. For some reason, like I didn't even consider the possibility that Daniel had it. Threw me into disarray. This Leonard Protocol is what they did to Jude and Claire to induce them, give them the powers. Well, Claire didn't have any powers, but did it to Jude. I'm assuming that's what Dr. Kells did on all the previous children before Jude, and it didn't work, and she kept doing it. Who's this Leonard guy? I feel like he's gonna be a bigger role. How did he find all this stuff out? Is it weird that his name sounds a little bit like Lukumi? Coincidence? Maybe. But maybe not. Lukumi, whom I knew as Leonard. I didn't even get that while I was reading it. Oh my goodness. It wasn't in the database, like it just like vanished off the face of the earth. They found it on like an online bookstore, and then they went and it wasn't there. And I found that really strange. Nothing came of it. Like I assumed it's because someone bought them all so that they couldn't get to it. I don't understand why that was there, why we didn't just be like, oh yeah, we can't find it online anyway. How weird. But she was getting hot, aches and pains. She was just getting worse and worse really quickly, and there was like almost like suggestions that she thought she might die, like if I make it to New York. And she full on faints, seemingly untriggered. It's strange because most of the time when she would like faint or black out, it would either be a dream or something would induce it, like when she saw the picture in Noah's bag or the book in Noah's bag. She faints, and we go back to her grandmother, Elliot and Simon. Noah, Elliot, Simon, Shaw. So yes, they are Shaws, and this is when the professor is introduced. So I guessed that the professor was Lukumi really early on. I don't know if it was this chapter. If it wasn't, it was pretty soon after it. He says that he goes by many names, and one of them was Abel. Oh, I'm sorry. That was what Lukumi was going by. He had the same mysterious vibe to him. And if it was Lukumi, Amara's having these dreams, why didn't she recognize the professor as Lukumi? Like, how conscious was she of these dreams? Did she remember them? Maybe she didn't remember them, but she would talk about them, she would reference them, about the dreams she'd had, so she knew about them, and she knew they were like about her grandmother. Maybe she didn't connect the dots that it was her grandmother. But you'd think either way she would recognize Lukumi as the professor. I was really confused about how conscious she was of these dreams. Throughout the whole of both of the evolution and this one, I don't think it was explained very well, because she would reference them, but she didn't seem to be wholly conscious of what was going on. But then she was with the doll. And what Lukumi said as well, he said there was power in a name. Madame Rose said there was power in a name. Ask the wrong questions and you'll get the wrong answers, he said as well, which Madame Rose also said. So I think it's pretty clear that Madame Rose was in fact Lukumi. That was his doing. The chapter ends with, our engagement lasted 3 months. He died on our wedding night, just before dawn. Coincidence? I think not. And Mara's emotions are all out of whack. I think that was another reason why the book was weighing down, because she was just so off. She didn't feel like herself, and it reflected in the writing really well. Instead I thought she was pregnant, and I was just sat there like, why is this the assumption we're jumping to? They were thinking they did all these experiments, they could have raped her or induced her or something. I agree, check, take the pregnancy test just so we can rule it out, but what would their motive be to get Mara pregnant? I don't know if they just didn't believe that Dr. Kells was really trying to fix them. I agreed with Mara though, like, how did we get here? How far we've come from the beginning of that first book. Was Jamie too chill about all the stuff that Mara had done? Stella was scared of her, and they were talking about it in one of the hotels. He's done some messed up stuff, and he's really okay with her, and I don't know if it's just because he's incredibly loyal, or if it just generally doesn't faze him. I think he's a little bit messed up too. Jamie asked her, have you tried to make good stuff happen? And she was like, of course. What good things has she tried to make happen? Because we've not seen her try to make any, other than moving that medicine bottle. The only other things we've seen her actively try to make happen is death and destruction. Like, she hasn't tried to make good things happen, which I guess links into the fact that she physically can't, but also she just, I think, doesn't want to. Like, is it a side effect of her powers? Noah's password was Mara Shaw. It was so cute, and like how she got all upset because she wanted to make, I felt for her. She was really going through it. I love the scene as well when they were dancing on the bed, her and Jamie. I wish we stayed with them a little bit longer before like Stella came back with the pregnancy test, because little moments of happiness just kind of, but just to have a few moments of alleviation. It feels dense and heavy. We weren't finding out much progress, hopping from place to place for ages. 1 or 2 moments like that, or staying with them longer in that scene when they were dancing on the bed, would have helped. About kissing, and I was right, it seems not just a fair response thing, but also she's like in a heightened state, she can't control herself. And then on the train, Mara sees Helllloooo again. Is this the first time I think we've actually seen him? I think it might be the only time that we see him. He must come into the short confessions. I can't see how he couldn't. Mara keeps referencing that she's running out of time. Like, how does she know? How do you know you're running out of time? I wonder if Noah wasn't all drugged up and stuff, if he would have been able to sense Mara's dying. How do his visions work? We're still not really sure. Doesn't she dream about herself with a human heart, holding a human heart? A lot like Mara's grandmother in the second book. She imagined dead people in the train tracks, like these visions that she keeps having of Noah. Is that because of her power? Was it because of the things inside of her? That wasn't really cleared up, but she stopped seeing them after they were taken out of her. Was that what that was? She didn't even think about it. She didn't question it after they stopped. Her mirror self, I think, was the one that kept telling her to get them out. She knew they were in it. Why didn't you bring them up sooner, Mirror Mara? If you know they're there, why not get it out sooner before it causes as much damage as it did? And she cut herself in the train. It was just bleeding into the shirt, and she was just walking around with this cut, and she was like picking at it. Ugh. She felt something inside of her, and then I lifted up my shirt and began to cut. So intense. And there was the bag that said believe her. Mara saying like believe me. The bag full of doctor stuff. Again, guessed pretty quickly that that was Helllloooo's doing. It was weird that he wrote like believe her. I guess he must have foresaw it because he can see the future. When her grandmother found out about her dead husband, and obviously like the professor's yelling up at her from outside, she laughed, and it felt very Mara-esque, very like hysterical. And again, I'm assuming it's the side effects. Mara kept talking about how she doesn't feel guilty and stuff. They don't react and feel emotion. Remorse, it seems the same way. The pendant came from Helllloooo. Doesn't seem to be limited to just Noah and Mara. He seems to just have all these pendants running around for his students. It represents the balance, he said something. I was kind of right-ish. I thought it had something to do with balance. Tomorrow's grandmother is a disease. He's like, it's time to begin your real education. Maybe controlling her abilities and kind of learning what they are and the limits. How to be okay, I guess. He was paid by Simon Shaw to unlock what he thought would be the secret to immortality. I guess he's still going on that mission, it would seem, with Noah. He's a really interesting figure that he just kind of goes around throughout time. Weird lectures, doing this specifically to learn. Yeah, he said that he knew someone would come in the shop that day, someone gifted. Didn't know it'd be her. So he's not actually going around doing these lectures, just doing that as a front. How does he get money? There must be more of him that just like go throughout time, because it seems the only way they die is if they're either killed or if they have a kid and the kid inherits that power. So there must be more of them who have survived. Surely he can't be the only like old one. And it does also beg the question, like, if people with these powers exist, why haven't people come up about it before? Does Helllloooo just go around finding them all and keeping them quiet? I think that's a bit of a flaw with the concept, because it seems really old. It doesn't seem like a man-made thing. It seems like something that just kind of happened, so people would, you would think, be aware of it. And he like tasks himself with like teaching people. He doesn't really owe a responsibility. Ultimately it seems like he wants the greater good. He wants the best outcome he can create, but he's learned that he can't manipulate the timeline quite like that. Like, he can't make the future good. He can only guide people and try and make them make the best decisions they can. At first I was like, what is he, some kind of like time wizard? Like, this is an awfully big task for him to undertake. It's scary when one person has so much responsibility like that, because you have to trust their morals completely. Anyone can do it. How do you know it's going to be a good guy? Also said that there aren't many of us and that we are attracted to one another, as in people with these powers. So that would explain like Mara and Noah and Mara and Jamie. I guess that's why Jamie befriended Mara so quickly. That felt like progress, and we needed that. Like, we were talking about things in the beginning, but they were all things we kind of either knew or hypothesized, and it was just being concreted out. Whereas this was like new information, and I think from here is when things started to get going a little bit more. Take the things out of her in that chapter afterwards. She already seems more like herself. She's just like snarkier. Writing style feels more like it was before. And it's Mara and Jamie that are manifesting. This is when Stella says that the more you use your power, the more consequences you have. She's fully manifested. Does it still count? Is this a side effect to manifesting, or is this just a side effect period? But does it keep getting worse the more you use them, or does it just kind of flatline once you've manifested? They kept debating all of these things, and I was really worried that these would then be taken as fact. It's like, I need all this stuff ironed out. I can't just like go off of you guys' hypotheses. I want to know more about these side effects and how permanent they are, but I think that will come with the becoming of Noah Shaw, because we're going to see them continue to learn about their powers. Noah also doesn't seem to have any of these consequences. Like, he doesn't seem to get sick, or I guess he's reckless. He self-harms. I guess that is his negative side effect. They're in New York and they go to talk to the accountant guy, and he's talking about like an access key and all this jargon. I was just so lost. I didn't understand any of that section. I was tempted to go through and reread it, and I was like, you know what, I don't care. I don't need to understand. Talk about like the key sent somewhere else, and I kind of got a hunch it might have been Daniel. It was either him or Lukumi, I thought, or whoever it was that was like trying to cover their tracks. I want to know more about what the limitations of these powers are. They always seem to be affected with like humans. Like, it's not like they can control fire or talk to animals. Like, it always seems to be manipulation of another person in some way, except for Mara, who can like bring down buildings. Is that just because she's particularly powerful, or are there people out there who can control objects? And we find Daniel, and he explains everything. Says that people with the gene tend to notice 1823 clusters. Mara was like, I haven't been doing that, and I wanted to go through and check, but I didn't have the energy to. In the middle of the night last night when I finished the book, the sun is changing. I apologize for the lighting. I did go back and check Jude's address, because that rang a bell, and Jude's address was 1281, which is 3 of the numbers, and it's because the gene is called the 1281 gene, and then people who are like Mara have these memories passed down as well, have a 3 on the end. So that's why she's been getting the memories. It's because of the gene. She's like a rare subtype of the gene, I guess. So that some people with this gene inherit superhero type abilities, and everyone was just like looking around at each other like, kind of sheepishly. It was interesting that some people can have the gene and not get the powers. I'm presuming that's what's going to happen with Joseph. It sounded like if Mara were to die, he would automatically inherit said powers. Does he not have the powers because Mara does? Can siblings not both manifest powers because only one can inherit? If like your mother and father say both have powers, then maybe both siblings would be able to get the powers because they could have a different power. But if only one of your parents has the gene, then only one sibling can have the gene, because it seems you have to inherit it. And he also talks about how there's no cure, it's just a part of them. And this caused problems for me, because even after this, they talk about fixing Mara a lot. When Stella left and Jamie threatened to leave, he was like, we need to fix her. But if what's wrong with her is a part of the gene, right, and you can't get rid of the gene. We thought back to Noah when he said, I can't fix you because you're not broken. The way she's acting is a symptom of her gene. The only way to fix her is what Dr. Kells was trying to do, to lessen her stress responses that trigger the power to come out, to completely flatline the power altogether, and then maybe try the medication to kind of stabilize her moods and whatnot. So this is why Dr. Kells was so like interesting to me, because she was kind of doing the right thing, not necessarily going about it the right way, and I don't know if she was doing it for the right reason, but what they're wanting is what Dr. Kells was doing. Very ironic. To find out more about Dr. Kell, we're looking through all the stuff. She kept having all these miscarriages, and she thinks that it was caused by the gene. Lots of people with the gene have kids, so it's not like an inherent thing. So how did she connect those 2 dots together? She's really smart. She has all of these like diplomas and degrees and doctor, what they called? PhDs. So I'm assuming she knows what she was doing. But how did she connect those 2 dots? She didn't manifest. So why is she having symptoms for the gene if she's not manifested. Claire didn't have any powers. I wonder if it was because she was a girl and Dr. Kells was particularly trying to get healers, and only boys can be healers. That sub-gene only works for men. So she wanted to create a healer to heal herself. I wonder how she figured out that healers were a thing, how she figured out about the powers. I would like a whole prequel book, I think, about Dr. Kells. I think it's so interesting. These subtypes, are there multiple people out there with the same power, or is it like a hereditary line that, you know, powers get passed through families? I think that's still a thing, but can there be multiple families like out there with the same powers? That would be really interesting to see. And I was kind of right with the whole, no, I think I was pretty right actually with the whole Jude situation in the house. It wasn't really their house and the parents must have been like actors thing. I wasn't just completely going crazy. I questioned, especially in the beginning when she was talking about Jude and about how he was sick, I was wondering if Jude was her kid biologically, and I wondered in the evolution if she had fostered them or something. I was very much thinking down that vein, and I was right. It was so sad reading about all the boys that came before. That made me really sad. And it is really interesting that she, instead of doing identical twin boys, she decided to do fraternal twins instead. I guess she got desperate that she was running out of options. It's interesting how there was no eye. I wonder if these are the things that we're going to come back to, or if they're just like fluky weird things. And that's why she was in the asylum. Never clear that like she told you to do what he did, but I'm still holding on to that theory. She wanted to do it to get Mara to release her powers, to provoke her. She did set up the asylum thing. She told Claire to tell. So I still think that Jude could have maybe not. Maybe she told Jude to do something else, just scare her. Or maybe she didn't specify. I don't know. We go back to Mara's grandmother, Mara Senior, like it had been over a century, and I was like, back up a minute. What? So it seems like they just don't age and they just live forever, provided they don't get killed and the gene doesn't get passed down. Is everyone with the gene like his, or is it only certain subtypes? You'd think people would notice. Why didn't Mara's mother notice that her mother wasn't aging? It seems that she's accepted her powers. I don't know if she could control them. It didn't seem like she had all these negative side effects that Stella was warning about. We don't get to see very much, so she could have been. So Mara's grandfather is Lukumi. Did she put the two and two? Because I don't think she ever said it. It was weird that she never like acknowledged Lukumi as her grandfather. I would like to see a conversation maybe with like Daniel and Noah about that. I think that would have been fun. Have their whole plan, and this is where Naomi comes in, and I got a little bit confused. He saw that Naomi's gonna have a kid, a son, and he's gonna be a hero. I love how they keep referring to Noah as a hero. If hero were to kill Mara Senior, then Mara and siblings wouldn't inherit her abilities because of Noah. Noah's just special. I think it was just a theory. I don't think it was ever set in stone. But Naomi would have to die. Daniel almost like recognizes him. I wonder if he saw a picture of Lukumi before, if he just like knew, grandfather, it's you, it must be. Jamie also brings up an interesting point about how he doesn't need fixing. He gets quite offended about it actually. Stop saying that we need to be fixed. I like who I am. I don't think I need to fix anything. I'm not broken. Like, he got on quite well with his powers, other than the weird side effects. His powers, I guess, are less dangerous than Mara's, although they're still pretty dangerous. He can get anyone to do anything he wants. You know what I mean, right, Mara? I did, but Jamie had voiced what I hadn't been able to put into words until then. What the slight sting of shame kept me from saying out loud. I didn't think I needed to be fixed either. I liked who I was becoming too. Even in the beginning of this book, I feel like she was talking about how she just wants a cure, and she just wants to find Noah, and she just wants everything to go back to the way it was before any of this happened, and now she's kind of coming to terms with it, which is good, and I agree, but I think she needs to be able to control it, and I think we need to kind of get a handle on her anger issues. But again, that could just be because she was manifesting, and when she kind of fully manifests, she might not be as bad. That's what I'm hoping. I wonder if her powers was affecting that at all. If her powers, the way she was changing her morals, she was more okay with them because she didn't regret it as much. She didn't feel bad about it. The subway, with the guys peeing on the woman. When Jamie was like backing Mara up though, it made me really nervous. She'll do it, Jamie, she'll do it. It goes back to the Spanish teacher thing. Like, I know these people are really horrible. To die? To die though? That's extreme. And I didn't want that to be on Jamie's conscience. Mara made them start bleeding, and that's like the first time it seems that she killed someone without like imagining them being dead. Kind of like Mara's grandmother's husband. She knew what she was doing. Fine. I'm glad she's accepted who she is. But she can't be trusted. In the end, she kind of says that she's done things that she regrets and she's done things that she doesn't regret, and I don't know if it's all hunky-dory now. I sat there thinking no one let her do these bad things. She's a good person. Wouldn't accept it. But then he loves her so much that I think he'd just kind of forgive her and move on anyway. It's a really interesting morals debate. I think Stella was well within her right mind to be upset and mad. No, I didn't feel guilty. I was tired of feeling ashamed for the things I thought and wanted. I've evolved, I said. What does that mean, you've evolved? Evolved past accepting other people as human beings? And at one point she even talked about Rachel and about how she didn't feel bad for Rachel anymore, how she didn't miss Rachel. And I was just sitting here like, Mara, no, we're going down a bad place. Stop it. Backtrack. Let's get out of here. She can't see it because she's on the inside. Although there was the interesting theory that Jude killed Claire and Rachel to heal himself because of his hands. It's weird to me that the doors closed on his hands, but yet when the building fell down it didn't fall on him, so her powers can affect him because the door is closed on his hands. Maybe I'm looking into it too much, but I think there's a flaw there. I don't think he would kill his sister though, because he seems pretty attached to her. Stella leaves. I wonder if we're ever gonna see her again. I hope so. I liked her. I think she has a good head on her shoulders. I'm so glad Jamie didn't go. I think the rest of the book would have been such a bummer without him. I love how loyal Jamie is. He just keeps coming back to her and he's really gracious, like he's good at accepting when he's wrong. And it's nice that she still has Daniel after everything. I love their relationship. We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming with Jamie, the best bits. These are my favorite Jamie parts. You all know how I felt with Jamie, and he had some good ones in here. I stopped short. Do you want to go back? He rubbed his forehead with both hands and pulled at his face until his eyes drooped. Well, no, he dragged out the word. Then kindly shut up and help me. But Stella found us first. She relied on the old hide in the broom closet trick, except that when we passed it, she reached out and grabbed Jamie by the sleeve, making him scream, which made me scream. What is wrong with you? Jamie said, hitting her lightly in the shoulder. You need to use the eye. I left it on the work table above me, but as I tried to stand back up, I banged my head. Ow! Jamie poked his head under the table. You okay? I shot him a glare. Do I look okay? Touché, he said, kneeling beside me. He patted my head a few times until I threatened to eat him. We took a moment to catch our breaths before Jamie and I reached for the rug and pulled it up at the same time. Well, heavens to Betsy, Jamie whispered. I love his little sayings. They're so funny. I looked behind me and scanned the room for a camera. Stella followed my gaze, then stopped and pointed at a tiny little reflective globe suspended from the ceiling in the far right corner of the room. I stared at it for a moment, then raised my hand and gave it the finger. I thought you were going to give it the District 12 salute, Jamie said. Stella snorted. It's okay, I said quietly. It really is. I wasn't offended or even hurt. I was relieved. I didn't want to feel responsible for Jamie and Stella. It was just enough being responsible for myself. Shit, Jamie muttered. Shit. Go, Jamie. He grabbed my face in his hands hard and smushed my cheeks. If it's Ebola, you're fucked. But if not, just try not to breathe for as long as you can, okay? I really wish she hadn't said that, Jamie said. What? I'll be right back. Now she definitely won't be right back. What are you talking about? It's the rules. Jamie peeked through the mangroves as Stella swam towards the boat. It's fast, I said. Yeah, Jamie said, but a massive shark fin is going to appear behind her any second. Don't say that. I punched him not so lightly on the arm. Asshole. He was silent for a few minutes, and then he smacked my arm. Ow! You had a mosquito. No, I didn't. If someone appears to be hallucinating or delusional or is starving themselves or hurting themselves, the most obvious explanation would be mentally illness, not some bizarre genetic mutation. Mutation? I asked. We're mutants now? Jimmy smirked. Don't tell Marvel. They'll sue us. Stops and all the lights cut out except for the one that they're in. So dramatic. Is this like some kind of master villain from a Marvel movie? Like, how is this happening? I guess she'll paid off the sub. Ooh. Ow. She's getting text through someone else's phone. Like, again, how is he doing that? Like, this is crazy. Obviously, it was a huge trap, and Jamie and Daniel both said it at the same time, but she had a point. What's the most dangerous thing on those tracks? What, a rat? No, it's me. Jude slinks out from the shadows and punches her in the face. Oof. We go back to her grandmother, and it was really fun reading about their relationship. They seem to have this really fun friendship. And it's weird for Mara's grandmother to think that Naomi married a Shaw because she was raised by the Shaws. It's weird how that tied together. I didn't see it quite happening like that. Grandmother let out a breath that she didn't realise she was holding. I don't know how many there were in this book. I feel like there was another one, but I'm not sure. I think it would have been interesting to find out more information about how Naomi got to know the professor. She seemed to really respect him. I wanted to know what they told her, how they explained the situation to her. I wonder if they told her the whole truth. Did she know that Noah was essentially just there to kill Mara Senior? Or did they just tell her that he was destined for greatness? It felt a little bit manipulatory and I didn't know how I feel about it. He told Naomi that he would have her smile. It was just really hard, and like, I feel bad for the woman because I feel like she didn't know everything, and I feel bad for David because he knew nothing. He had no say in this whatsoever. Pieces like were beginning to click together now. Most of the things that I wanted to find out from the second book, I think we found out. I think if it were left at this trilogy, a lot of the big things have been answered. Obviously there's some that are left a little bit open, but it's hard to close everything up. Then we go back to Mara and we find out that it's David. He's working with Jude. How long has that been going on for? Did no one know? My voice was scratchy and hoarse, and I wasn't sure he heard me until his eyes lifted in surprise. You're wondering if he betrayed you? David's eyes narrowed a bit. How little you trust him. This situation was really interesting because I can see where David's coming from, and I feel bad for the guy because his wife died and he had no say in it. She didn't tell him any of this. Mother hid it as long as she could, but I found out when she died. It's why she and I were chosen. For? To be your parents. David closed his eyes, and when he opened them, a quiet fear had settled in his face. The man you called Lukumi, whom I knew as Leonard, manipulated your mother, recruited her, then introduced her and me so we could breed. You were planned, Noah, engineered. For what? To be the hero, David said, looking at Noah like he was his greatest disappointment. To slay the dragon. But you fell in love with it instead. And so the lion fell in love with the lamb. Yeah. What a great page that was, though. I wonder how David came to find out about this new version of Lukumi, if he'd been spying on them or if he'd been spying on Lukumi. Oh, I guess he probably watched the stuff that happened in Mara's room with Dr. Kells. And like, Noah doesn't know about any of this, the genes or how their powers are formed or anything like that. He's so behind. David, the way he was explaining things at the beginning, like he was trying to manipulate Noah into it because he didn't know these things. And it's so hard to read from Mara's perspective, like to see it happen. And he talks about how when Noah was 8, he like fell off a dresser or he jumped off a dresser and he healed himself. So it's not triggered by puberty. Like Mara's in the asylum, that triggered it. It does seem to be some kind of trauma. Maybe not trauma necessarily, but like a stressful situation. So I think I was kind of right there as well. She's the embodiment of the shadow archetype, destructive, harmful to herself and others. She embodies Freud's death drive. Mara can will what she wants, my feather continues, and her desires become reality. But the nature of her affliction is that she will never create anything good. Maybe the theory that she's never created anything good because she's never tried to create anything good because her symptoms, her destructive, self-destructive, morally corrupt symptoms won't allow it. And talking about the shadow archetype, Lukumi, when he visited Mara Senior to tell her about her daughter's pregnancy, Mara Senior asked like a shadow like me, like they reference her as a shadow all the time, so like it's legit. It's not just like Shul coming up with something. Reluctant though you may be, Noah, you are the embodiment of the hero. You don't have to learn to become good at anything. You simply are the best at everything. Your telomeres don't stop replicating. If you aren't killed, you might actually live forever. You have every gift, Noah. Once she is fully manifested, if you are near her, you'll be powerless, vulnerable, weak. She can't help what she does to you. She's your weakness as you are hers. Now Mara's fully manifested, does that mean he won't be able to heal things anymore? As long as she's around? Or can he just not heal things period now because they'll spend so much time together that he'll just won't be able to do it? We need some parameters here. Especially because they're staying together. I really want them to figure this out. Try and find a solution if they can. It doesn't look like they will because it looks like they've just accepted that it's going to be the way it is. Is it that she'll just slowly wear him down? Will there be an accident one day? Can he use his power as a tool? Is it only when he's with her? Or will she just like kind of suck them out of him slowly? It's exactly the good versus bad ordeal that I kept raving about in my last video. We just have a hero archetype and a shadow archetype? Or dual powered people have like an archetype? I hope so. I think that'd be really fun to explore. And they're each other's contradictions, remember? Like hers was N-E-S-S, Noah, Elliot, Simon, Shul, and his was M-A-D, Mara, I can't remember her middle name, began with A, Dyer. I saw on Pinterest the other day, and when they were on the page next to each other in here, together they spell madness. And we kind of have it ironed out that she'll become like Jude, which is really scary. Looking at him, just kind of drooling in the corner. We need to figure out a way to make it so that that's not the case. Kind of want her to join up with Lukumi, as questionable as he is, and I think he's questionable. I do think he wants the greater good, so I think we should do as he says. He says her grandmother also was like what Mara will become, and that she kind of caused loads of destruction and pain. You think about it, uncle and sister, they died because of her. Like, she didn't mean it, but they did. I think that's the kind of thing we're talking about here. She just attracts bad things, which sucks. It really sucks. Mara, are you sure you don't want to cure? The more I think about it, the more I'm like, maybe for you we should find a cure. And Mara didn't seem to feel particularly guilty or shocked or like she cared, like the possibility of dying. She didn't kind of really start contemplating it. I think maybe we could have seen more emotion, or maybe she's just so far gone she doesn't care. If you think about it, his mother did die for him to complete his purpose, but obviously it was supposed to be Mara's grandmother. And so this is like when I started thinking, well, why did her grandmother commit suicide then? Why didn't she carry on with the plan? And I think that Lukumi was trying to break them up, maybe to avoid this from happening. I wonder if he knew that this was going to happen, and that he was trying to break them up so that Mara didn't have to die. Noah could just go about doing his amazing, miraculous stuff without Mara getting in the way, and maybe she'll cause like pain and destruction, but at least it won't be counteracting all the potential good that Noah has in him. Thinking over Jamie then, he lifted his chin as he said, "Barney." I cocked my head to the side. "Rubble." Stella put her head in her hands. "And this," he said, a smile spreading across his lips as he sidled up to Stella, "is Betty." He put his hand on her shoulder. She smiled weakly. "And this is our daughter." Jamie placed a hand on my head. Bam bam. I stepped on his foot. "Ow," he said through a clenched smile. "So a peck on the cheek wouldn't do anything," I said. "Probably not." I planted a kamikaze kiss on Jamie's cheek. "Fuck," he shouted, wiping it off. "What have you killed me?" He threw a skittle at my face. It hit my forehead. "Ow! Taste the rainbow, bitch." Don't be a baby. I sat back and laughed for a good maybe 5 minutes. "Taste the rainbow, bitch." "Names?" the receptionist asked. "Jesus." Jamie smiled. "Mary," said Stella. "Satan," I said as I walked past. I threw my hands out against the bookcase to break my fall, which worked, but the movement sent something tumbling down from the top of it right onto my head. I swore and held both hands against the crown of my skull as I mimed kicking the stupid bookcase. Jamie picked up the thing that had fallen on me. "I would have thought your head would be hard enough to break the glass," he said, holding the picture frame. "You're going to feel crappy about making fun of me if I have a concussion." How are we supposed to get in? Stella kicked the huge metal shutter enclosing what must have been the entrance. "Fool of a tuck!" Jamie hissed through his teeth. "If someone's in there, they probably heard that." I love all of their nerdy references. "You can be our Gandalf," I said, remembering our conversation from weeks ago and smiling. "I'm only a year older than you, but I'll take it as a compliment if you let me be Dumbledore instead." "If you insist," I shrugged, "but Dumbledore is more dead." Point. Daniel acknowledged. "You're neither, actually." Jamie looked up from afar. He was reading. "You're a muggle." "Hey now," which makes you Giles. David has Jamie and Daniel. Was like, right when I was rooting for you, man. I could see why he wants Mara dead. You can see it. You can see why he's doing what he's doing. For Mother's sake, for Noah's sake, for the whole world's sake, both because we're one less evil in the world and we'll have a better, miraculous, he could heal everyone. When they say that Noah's great at everything, which means that's why he has a photographic memory, like you can do everything, I wonder if he has other abilities. It was really interesting going back and forth between their perspectives. This one was particularly interesting. My father watches me, Jude watches me, Jamie watches me, Mara does not. She watches her brother. Her eyes never leave him, even as I reach for the gun. I couldn't tear my eyes away from my brother, and so I didn't notice at first when Noah pointed the gun at his father. If anyone other than an original carrier were to kill Mara, then the powers would be passed on to Joseph. So why did it have to be Noah that killed Mara Sr.? Why couldn't it just be another original? Did they not know that at the time? Because Lukumi could have just killed her. And we wouldn't be in this predicament. Again, she doesn't ever think about how scared she is to die or anything like that. I wonder if it was because of the drugs. And she's very quiet throughout the whole thing. And I wonder if it's because she's now hearing it from someone else's mouth, realising quite how unhinged she actually is. I just kept thinking we could really use with Dr. Kells right now to figure out some other kind of way. The irony. Is there any other way around this? And then I was thinking, even if there was, would Mara want to find another way? Chapter 57 is from Noah's perspective. "He's so sure I won't do it, doesn't care whether I do." "Please," Mara says, "please." I can barely hear her. All I can think of is that I am nothing more than a tool, but the tool can't work if it's broken. I pulled the trigger. Professor picked up on the first ring. These flashbacks always happen at the most dramatic times, like every single time. Just give me a break. The symbolism of how like Noah tries to shoot himself and then we go back to when he was being born. Nice touch. I felt for David so much. Like obviously he's not been a great parent to Noah and he continues to just get worse and worse. But hearing him with his wife when Noah's being born, it's interesting to think how things could have been so different. Her grandmother's writing was quite similar to Mara's. Like it wasn't exactly the same, it had a similar feel to it. I've had snide comments in the same way that Mara would, and it was really interesting to think about her writing from the evolution of Mara Dyer when we started getting these flashbacks, how different it is now, how much it's changed, like with her character growth and like with her coming into modern times. I think that was done really well as well. Because of the split perspectives, it means that Mara and Noah could die. One of them could die, but I knew that they didn't, and so I wasn't as affected by it, I don't think, as I would have been had I not known that in the bag. And then Noah agrees to kill her. I thought he maybe had like a plan or something, because Mara said something changed in his face. This is the first time that she actually tells him that she loves him, I think. We've not seen her say it before, so I'm assuming so. I think I did tear up at some point. Then we have the letter from her grandmother that was in the doll. I'm so grateful that we knew what was in the doll. And she remembers this one, like when she comes out of it, she's like, I remember everything now. So maybe she didn't really recognise Lukumi, maybe like parts of it was just deep in her subconscious somewhere. Pretty sad about her grandmother. I would wait 3 days and then I would leave the world as I'd entered it, alone. Her grandmother's death kind of mirrors her death. It comes after her death. So they kind of happened at the same time, which was really nice. I'm still not 100% sure why she decided to kill herself. Like, why didn't she just carry on with the plan and let Noah kill her? She thought if she killed herself, then Mara would end up manifesting. Obviously it didn't work, so that's really sad. Jude throws the knife at Noah and I was so confused. And Noah didn't even care. Hardcore Romeo and Juliet vibes going on right now. Really, Noah, really, can we just give it 5 minutes? Give it 5 minutes. Go to Noah's perspective and he's all like, be careful what you wish for, ha ha ha. This is not the time, Noah. Turns out that Jude has a death wish. That's why he put the knife in Noah, because Dr. Kells told him Mara's the only one who can kill him. Mara was thinking that she could kill him with her powers, and she started to. Like, he started to get a bit of a nosebleed, didn't he? Before she said she can't affect him with her powers. So what's going on there? Where's the continuity? Sounds like he had DID, because he kept saying before the other one comes back. I felt bad for him. He didn't want any of this, and he seems like he was genuinely regretful because he wasn't in his right mind. In the letter, grandmother said that Mara can give life, so it's weird that she can cause destruction, but she can also give life. Another random one-off little thing that she can do. She figures out that she has to kill someone. Why didn't she get there before she killed Jude, and then she could have used Jude? Why didn't she try? I guess she did try and bring him back with everything she did, and it didn't work. Think about it, she was thinking like, I would kill any one of these people to bring Noah back. Which I get. Still, it's scary stuff. Very interested to see what she's gonna be like in the short confessions and what Noah's perspective on it is gonna be. Assuming Mara killed Noah, it wasn't himself, because he was gone. I guess a knife in the heart, we now know Noah can't just come back to life. If he's so amazing and miraculous, then you'd think he'd be able to just like bring himself back to life. Go to the hospital and they go to room 1213. I wonder how much this is gonna pop up in the short confessions. I bet it will. And I loved how when the police were trying to question her and she was like, my mother's a psychologist, my father's a lawyer, so I know what to do. I love how smart she is. It did feel a little convenient that they could just leave whenever they want, and they got out of that situation quite easily when it was quite like a big messy situation. Mara refrained from telling Jamie the fact that she brought Noah back to life. She was telling him that he was kind of delusional, that he imagined it, and Jamie was like, well, I'm pretty sure I saw you rocking his dead body. And she convinces him that it's not. He looks like he's about to punch her, and then the lawyer comes in. Why didn't she tell him? I don't like the keeping of the lies, the keeping of the secrets. I think you should tell him everything. I think we all need to be on the same page, especially you, Mara, because you're such a liability. And then the cop has a nosebleed, and I'm assuming that's punishment. I'm assuming he's gonna die. I still think Jude. It could have been Jude. She just got there a little bit sooner. Of course, she has her scalpel again. Why wasn't anyone watching her to make sure she didn't, like, she's a liability. Why aren't we watching her to make sure she doesn't steal scalpels? Why a scalpel? Why didn't she just take a knife? I guess because it's small? Oh, and Jamie admits that he was wrong about Noah. He told Mara about how much he loves her, and it was so sweet. And like, I love that about Jamie, how he can admit when he's wrong. Noah just blames it all on himself, like everything that happened to Mara and Mara's family. But I didn't save him or his sister. If it weren't for me, Daniel would never have been in danger. His father would never have moved their family to Florida. Mara would never have been at the asylum. Jude would never have hurt her. She would never have met him. Everything that happened to them was because my father made it happen. Think about the times I promised to keep her and her family safe, when all the while she was in danger because of me. Just thinking about it makes me want to swallow a bullet. Heavy stuff. The letters. Lukumi confirms that Mara was created because Noah was created, that there needs to be balance. There can't be someone really good without someone really bad. I wonder if just like all of it, their original plan was, I wonder if it was always going to fail because it was always going to need to be balanced, which is even more sad to think about. Jamie seemed to be good though, because he seemed to want to believe what was written was true, and he put his necklace on. Thank you, Jamie. Good choice, good choice. I wonder what Jamie said. This is take 374. I've been filming all day again, even longer than I did last time, and so the sun is like, it's going down, the lighting probably has changed a bunch, the framing's probably changed a bunch. It's because my camera battery keeps dying and I have to keep stopping to charge it back up again. I've literally been doing this since 10, well maybe 11 a.m. It's now 10 to 6. I did eat lunch and I did go to the shop, but other than that, this is all I've done today. I apologise for inconsistencies. Just in such a predicament, like how are they going to get past this? I mean, in the end, ultimately they decide that they don't care. I don't know how I feel about that. You know, it just feels really off. He's just really sad, I think, and it feels really distant. Do you want to die? I knew the answer, but I asked the question anyway because he'd asked me. Maybe he wanted to talk about it. Maybe we needed to. Yes, he said. Tell me why. I don't have the words. His voice was smooth, his expression unreadable. But I knew it masked how worthless he felt, how screwed up and damaged and wrong he thought he was, how he was responsible for everyone, for me, and how it broke him that he hadn't saved me. No, we need to talk about these things. We used to process things together, before yesterday, before Horizons. We do feel very different now as a couple, and I hope they're gonna be okay. Made me really glad that he has his perspective though, because without his perspective we just really wouldn't know what's going on. And he keeps dreaming messed up things about her. Mara bending to smell his flower, watching it die under her breath. Her stepping barefoot into the snow and watching it bleed red beneath her. Before he was dreaming about her drawing just with his eyes scribbled out. These dreams, they must mean that they shouldn't be together. They must be like warnings for him. I wonder if there's any more to it than that. I looked at Freckles and Blondie as I said to her, then go, now. But she didn't. Instead, she unlooped her arm from Maria's. What are you going to do to them? I kind of want to see Mara Crucio their asses, Jamie said. The boy snickered. Avacadabra, more like. What if someone had lice on the subway? A preteen couple with matching sprays of acne who had been kissing half a second before looked at him with disgust. What? Daniel asked. What if there's a kid on the train with lice, and you're sitting next to him, and then you get it? That's disgusting, I said. Jamie ran his hand over his scalp. I bet it happens. Stop. I yanked at his hand. Just the thought was enough to make me itch. Don't worry, Mara, he said as he ruffled my head. Your hair looks luminous. You dropped your phone on the tracks. I dropped it? Her voice wavered as she looked back and forth between Jamie and the phone in her hands. Yes. Run along now. Jamie gestured to her. Shoo. I passed the first niche, and then the second. But before I came to the third, I heard my name shouted behind me. Mara! Daniel's voice echoed in the tunnel. Panic seized me. Wherefore art thou, Mara Dyer? Jamie's voice this time. That means why, not where, I heard my brother say. Just saying. You don't get what you do for him. You're like his manic pixie dream girl or something. Jamie thought for a second. Actually, more like his psychotic demon nightmare thing. But whatever, you get my point. Speaking of demon nightmare things, he said gracefully, you dying and coming back to life? That was a neat trick. I love him. I love Jamie. Jamie is by far one of my favourite characters in this. He best be in the Show Confessions or I'm gonna be sad. We have that argument like in the rain. It was very sexy. Especially from his perspective. And I quite like the conclusion that they came to, especially with Mark. Like she was really considering breaking up with him and protecting him. At least she considered it. She's gonna kill him eventually and she seems okay with it. Well, not okay with it, but she doesn't seem to fight hard enough against it, I think. But the conclusion that they come to, but more than that, he chose me. I couldn't give him forever, even though he deserved it. I couldn't keep him safe, even though I wanted to. But I could give him tonight. And I would try to give him tomorrow and every day after for as long as I possibly could. It wasn't enough for me, but it was enough for him. And I think that's like a really interesting idea as well, what we give people versus what they deserve. It just kept making me like curse the author, like, why you gotta do this to this? This is the most forbidden of forbidden romance. And we have the sexy scene, which I've never read such a poetic sex scene before. I was sat there a mixture of just like completely giddy and also trying not to laugh, partially out of enjoyment but also partially just like it was a lot. It was pretty well masked. I think that's why it's so poetic, because it's YA and you can't have sex in YA, that's forbidden. But it was very easy to decode what was actually happening. Like it was really steamy. There was one or two particular lines though. A pinch of scarlet, that got me, because I'm assuming that's, you know, popping the cherry. Mara kisses me and it was sugar on my tongue and champagne in my blood. It was really pretty. And when he said the thing in French, I love you today, tonight, tomorrow, forever. If I were to live 1,000 years, I'd belong to you in all of them. If I were to live 1,000 lives, I'd want to make you mine in each one. I started crying and that got me. And then we have the epilogue. I'm assuming the epilogue is because this is what she thought was going to be the end of the trilogy. I'm glad we had an epilogue. I love a good epilogue in a book. Quite long as well. It's like 20 odd pages, but it went by really quickly. Mara said that they have all the time in the world, like, to be with Noah, and I was like, excuse me, no you don't. You're gonna kill him. You literally, no. You really, really don't. I hate how relaxed they are. It's stressing me out. So they're hoping to go straight to college. They're not going to do senior year. Does this mean no more Croydon? I quite liked Croydon actually in the first book. I kind of miss it. There's a Ouija board reference, kind of like the beginning of the first book. Full circleness. We all know how I feel about a good full circle moment. I like me a good full circle. Mara's really seemed to make peace with herself, and she talked about how they laugh but with bitterness, how much they've grown. Anyone would see them and they'd just see two teenagers, show them a picture before and after and they wouldn't tell the difference, but there's a difference there. They've matured. I guess because it's the last book in the trilogy, we need to know that they've changed. Look, she's trying to wrap everything up. A little heavy, a little clunky. We'll go with it. And I would never give up. I've done terrible things I regret and terrible things I don't. But I don't need to be fixed. I don't need to be saved. I just need to keep going. It's nice to know that she's okay. She's not really decided what she's going to do with her necklace yet, and I don't think Noah has either. That would have been left open had we not had the Shaw confessions. But I think that was purposeful because that's not the point. The point is that they're okay and they're going to do their best. It doesn't matter whether Lukumi's involved or not, although I would have wanted to know. So I'm glad that we have the Shaw confessions. Wait, are you... Mara Dyer, are you reading the ending first? I am. You are fascinating. I'm weird, I say without looking up. There's a difference. The reference to when her grandmother said it to Naomi, but she said it the other way around. I loved that line when her grandmother said it, and then I loved the fact that she twisted it around. We find out that these books are her memoir. This is how she's telling their story. She wanted to tell the world, but she knew the world wouldn't believe her, so she decided to do it under fiction. And I don't know how I feel when books do that, when they make it kind of believable. They kind of include the fact that they're writing this book and that's what you're reading now, and it makes sense. That's why it's in the fiction section. We've seen it happen a couple times, and sometimes it's okay. I don't know how I feel about that, and I'm kind of just ignoring, because it takes me out of it. Like, not that any of this is real, obviously, but it just like reinforces the fact that it's not real by trying to make it feel real. I love how flirty they are with each other. I'm really hoping we get to see them happy like we do here. This is a love story, twisted and messy, flawed and screwed up, but it's ours. It's us. I don't know how our story will end, but I know how it will start. I pick up my pen and begin to write. My name is not Mara Dyer, but my lawyer told me I had to choose something. Ended with the very beginning of The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer. It was nice. I can't deny it was nice. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it was nice. I think we have most things answered. Like, if this was the last book, I think what would happen with Helllloooo, I'd want to know what they were going to do. I think I'd want to see them kind of play around with it all a bit more, because it feels like there's more room to play with. So I'm really, really glad there was the short confessions. But had it not been there, I think I would have been mostly satisfied with this conclusion. Just little things, but then I guess she probably wanted to leave them open. Yeah, I think that's everything. I really liked the ending. I liked how happy it was. I think we came to peace with a lot of things. The epilogue made me smile a lot. It was really nice. It feels so much like the end, but I'm so aware that it's not the end. I don't really know what else to say here, because this isn't the end. This isn't the last Mara Dyer video, because we have the short confessions. So that is everything I have for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name's Jade. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye! Because the last book is called, you know, it's got both of their names in the title, because the okay. But did my nails to match the book again. This blue colour was originally more of a mint green. It's now kind of blue. Or is it like a hereditary? It's awfully convenient that I think it might be. I don't know if that's purposeful, but that's interesting to think about as well, like her as Iago. Because I can see some parallels there. Because of it was because of the splits per blum. Shh. There's a word and I can't get it. What's it? Symptom. It's a really interesting morals debate. Whoa. Except check into a little weird blah, 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 blah. They check in to like a little in thing. Your telomeres. Oh, I'm hot. I'm tired. I love Jamie and Noah.